What is up, Honey Badger Nation? This is John Kitchens, and welcome to episode 149 of Expert Mentors Live. And get to change things up a little bit today. We had to juggle some things around with the scheduling conflict. So I was like, hey, I'll jump in. Let's hang out with the Honey Badger Nation and rock and roll. And take this opportunity to share a presentation that I was able to give inside of the EXP auditorium, inside the EXP world. As you guys know, EXP has different series, different levels, Fast Start, Icon, and then their XL series like 101, 201, 300 series. And so just have had the honor to be able to jump into the auditorium on Wednesday mornings and add a little value. And so the presentation that I was able to jump in and give last week was on people. And so I was like, man, I know it didn't get out to enough people. So, hey, let's take the opportunity. We've got a little time. We got some space with Expert Mentors this week to be able to jump in. And I want to share that presentation with you. That was episode 2 of the series. So we're doing a 6-part series. Episode 1 was on vision, culture, really nailing the values, understanding your purpose, finding your why, and really nailing that BHAG. And then last week in the session that I'm excited to share with you guys today is on people. And so it's always right things, right order. It has to start with the vision. Then it's all about the people. And then today I was able to give on numbers. Next week we'll talk leadership. And we get into strategy, and then we get into systems and processes. So if that's something that, kind of intrigues you, you're excited about, man, join us at 9:00 Central every Wednesday in the world, at least for the next couple weeks. But let's dive into today's session on people. Excited to share this with you guys. So boom. All right, cool. So hopefully you guys can see this on StreamYard. When you go into presentation mode, I lose sight of everything except for the presentation. So this presentation that I'm excited to share with you guys today is on people. And really the whole goal and objective is to help create some awareness around, why this is so important, and understanding that building a business is a team sport, and it takes people to be able to accomplish really cool and big things. So we're going to really focus on the people component, give you guys some actionable items and some things that have worked really well for us. And if you guys don't know, I know we've got so many new honey badgers that this group is growing exponentially, and just a fun to think about. Just a couple of years ago, there were less than 1,000 people in this group. And I mean, it's 7,000 plus and growing. So really cool. Just haven't had an opportunity to connect with a lot of you, but just a little quick backdrop. College dropout, me and Kinder and Reese all spent some time there at Cameron University in Lawton, Oklahoma. For me, I moved out west to California, spent some time with family that got into the golf business there in Hollister, California, Ridgemark Golf and Country Club, semi-private golf resort at the time, 36 holes. And that was my MBA. I just had an amazing boss that really took me under her wing and really taught me all of the ins and outs and everything that it really pertains to building a solid business and how to run and function a solid business, and not just how to give golf lessons and run a golf shop, but marketing, food and beverage, spending time in the kitchen, all of the facets. So it was a huge blessing for me, and was able to take that skill set back to Oklahoma and work with some buddies of mine, serial entrepreneurs, taking ideas to execution to business and sold. We did 4 of those in about a 4-year stretch. And that was at the end of '03. And then we just had this great idea that we should own a bar. And, I know I've had this conversation with folks that have been in the bar business. But let me tell you, if you're thinking about getting in it, let's have a conversation before you do. That then was a green light for me because it I knew that's not what I wanted to do. And that led me to meeting Kinder in '04. And over the last 17 years, being able to be a part of and start, grow, and scale 2 separate 7-figure real estate businesses, personally coached over 500 real estate professionals. And that is, as of last night, I believe, 12,423 one-on-one coaching sessions, just helping agents explode and exponentially grow their business and do so much more. So here's the agenda that we're going to run through today. And we're going to dive into the FAC, which is the functional accountability chart. We're going to talk agreements versus expectations. And then we're going to dive into compensation drives behavior. And if you guys have any questions at the end, would love to chat, Q&A, or give you some next ways to continue the conversation if you want to. Like I said, I have little Q&A at the end if you want. Answer any questions as we go throughout. Like I said, I'm in presentation mode on StreamYard here. Not allowed to, it doesn't allow us to see the comments. So if you have any questions or thoughts or want clarity on something, throw it into the comments and we'll address it right after we wrap up this presentation. And also throw some ways to better connect for us outside of the Honey Badger Nation Facebook community. And so we're going to really dive into people. And, if you guys had a chance to watch The Last Dance, you can definitely understand what it takes to really win championships. Talent wins games, teamwork and intelligence win those championships. But before we jump in there, let's talk a little bit team building strategy. This is a thought process that I want you guys to be thinking about. We have to be really strategic in the process of hiring. We don't want to just think we know who we need to hire and jump into the process feet first. We have to plan out the who and the what are critical to the long-term success of our company and our team members. Remember, it's always right things, right order, and why we always start with the vision, getting clear on the BHAG, and the question always that we have to ask ourselves as leaders is, what does the team have to look like in order for us to hit our goal? What does the team have to look like in order for us to hit our goal? And we're going to look at it in the form of functions here in just a second, and not necessarily you have a person, but we also have functions. So it's a little bit maybe a new concept to really kind of get your head around. Identify the potential hires through conversations, through your one-on-ones with your current team, through your coaching conversations if you're working with a coach. And if you guys don't know, SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. What are the company strengths? Where are our weaknesses? What are our opportunities, and where are our threats? This is where we hear, hey, you got to focus and you got to build your strengths. You got to build your strengths. I would focus on your weaknesses, build those up. I agree on other equities outside of growing your business. With our weaknesses, to me, is an indicator that that's where we need a who. That's where we need a hire in that to help our weakness become a strength. So for example, yes, you can become a great marketer because it's a skill set, and anything that's a skill you can develop. But let's say you're really strong on sales and you're weak on your marketing, creating opportunities. And it's like, hey, I can develop that skill set, which is probably good, but I can also get a who to help overcome that weakness and now make it a strength. Opportunities, what opportunities do we have in our community, in our marketplace? And then what are the threats? So that's just a great way to kind of look at that. And then one-on-ones, it's a leadership That's the number one leadership meeting that you've got to be having with your people. And there's ways to uncover and have great one-on-ones, but asking your people, where are they stuck? What do they need help with to move the company forward is a great conversation to have in those one-on-ones. We also look at it during quarterly and annual strategy. Be sure to get feedback from all team members as to the company's weaknesses and threats. This is really, really important, because as leaders and as our companies evolve and as we continue to grow, we develop new blind spots. We all have them. We all have blind spots. And what we're looking for is vantage points and views within the organization from our other people. Because remember, what we reveal, we can heal, but it's a blind spot. If we can't see it, we can't reveal it, we can't heal it. And that's why we need all perspectives from all of our team members to be able to shine as much light as we can. Can discover, like I said, in the one-on-ones, each team member doing quarterly and annual reviews. If you do those, be honest, I don't. I just, get clear on the desired outcome. Are we hitting our results? Or are we not? We're having one-on-ones. We're constantly communicating. We're creating a feedback-rich environment, and we're building an environment on accountability. You said you were going to do this. You didn't do it. I don't want to hear your excuses. What are we going to do about it moving forward? And so to me, that's how, I don't do it. Some people believe in it. Some people do, but I think you can achieve the same outcome by creating that ongoing culture of accountability. Listen for team members who are stretched to the limits on their workload. Hey, if they're struggling to get things done or dropping the ball, then that's a good indication that, hey, we maybe need to expand the bandwidth of the organization. Maybe we need a new system. Maybe we need a new technology. Maybe we need a different process. But you need to be paying attention to that, because your job as a leader, one, is to build the team, but also to remove obstacles and provide resources. A great indicator as a leader within it, growing your team, if you have an admin that is also responsible for communication to clients, other agents, vendors, relationships, if communication falls off, that's the number one ball that always gets dropped, is communication. So if you're getting some feedback that, hey, communication is not where it needs to be, that's an indication right there that, hey, you may have a team member that's stretched too much. We need to see how we can maybe improve that, the system and the process, or whatever they're doing, to be able to do more. Or, hey, we maybe need some help over here as well. Priorities, coming out of strategy, priorities established, look for relationships between weaknesses and responsibilities. So this goes back to SWOT. And then once we kind of get clear during those strategy sessions, and really clear on kind of what the goal is, what the long-term, short-term, immediate goals are, then go to that question, right? What does the team have to look like in order for us to achieve the desired outcome that we're really after? And, you gotta be honest. And this is even with ourselves, right? If we're trying to do everything, ask yourself, man, is that realistic? And I had a great conversation with a coaching client last night. And he actually, his partner, they were on, and this is to a point, and this is a lot of agents out there. Is like, we can make those calls. So the choke point was conversion. That, hey, we're building up opportunities, and it's like, yeah, I can just make those calls. I'll make those calls. Well, yeah, but you're also leading an organization that's growing, that has over 30 agents, that is responsible for a lot of things. And, you're telling me that, you're going to get in there and make the calls, and you haven't done it. And this happens to all of us, right? It doesn't matter. It's like, yeah, I'll build out that project. Yeah, I'll build out that presentation. Yeah, I'll do that marketing thing. And it never happens. And it's because we're doing so much that we're trying to do things that aren't really helping us move the organization forward. in strategic coach, they talk a lot about where you procrastinate could be an indication of where you need some help, where you maybe need a who to help you overcome that. So one, is it realistic that you're stacking everything on one person? And even so, looking in the mirror, is it realistic that you're trying to do everything yourself? So if it's something that is a bandwidth issue or something, a strong dominant skill set will lend well to accomplishing and become more important as the year goes on, put it on the list as a potential hire. Okay. Get it on the list. Create that bench of the next hires. I've got 5 hires on my board. I've made 5 hires so far this year. I've got 5 more hires on my board that I want to make this year. And it's just getting to those certain milestones to be able to make that happen. But I'm always thinking about who do we need to help really accelerate and exponentially grow and move us forward. Look at the numbers to identify key roles in the hiring strategy. And, if we have to hit certain targets, can we do it with the current team we have? If not, add the position to the list, add the function that we need to go get. And I'm sure it's somewhere else in this presentation, but I want to share Clayton Mask's concept of 1 and 3s, because I know there's a lot of rock stars that are in the Honey Badger Nation, and there'll be a lot of rock stars that listen to this, and even rock star team members that listen to this. And Clayton has this concept, and this is really hard, especially as you're growing and you're growing fast, is that he has a concept called 1s and 3s, meaning a team and a team member that gets you to one revenue point might be able to get you to the next one, but they won't get you to the one beyond that. What he's saying is that, get to 100,000 in revenue, we can do that by ourselves. Getting to 300,000 in revenue, maybe one team member, maybe depending upon price point, depending upon market. But there's a good indication, there's a good probability that person that maybe helps you to get to 3 and above is not going to get you to $1 million. And if you have aspirations to grow a team from 1 million to 3 million, the team that got you to $1 million probably won't get you to 3 million. And really it's around the leadership and the skill set, the specialized skill set to take us to that next level. So just as you're growing and you're building your team and you're focused on your who's, just know that if you are like full throttle growth mode and you have that's your aspiration, that's your goal, that's your BHAG, you have to understand that you're going to outgrow your people. Doesn't matter as much of a growth organization as you have. Doesn't matter if that's your culture is always continuous improvement, always in growth. You just outgrow people's comfort level, and that's okay. And there's leadership, there's right ways to refit a team member back into the business ecosystem. But that's another conversation. I just want you to understand that, because I've had so many conversations with leaders that are getting frustrated with their team, and we look at their growth and how long they've been riding with them. And so it's like, it's okay. It's okay. And so it's just overcoming that and not being frustrated, but making sure that you're doing the right thing to help your team be in a position to where they're happy. So just wanted to share that, something to kind of think about. You have the bench, prioritize those hires. Right things, right order. Who's going to give us the greatest leverage to propel and move the company forward and at the time. So once we have that list of potential hires, we really need to bring on for the quarter of the year, put them in the order, like we said, prioritize are the most important. Either way, the key hire position should really help us get to our short term and lead to reaching our propelling towards our long-term goal. That was a lot. I get it, but we have to understand where our head needs to be, how we need to be thinking about this in order to make the right moves. And sometimes early on, you'll make a hire and it's okay that it doesn't work out because you learn what you don't want. And then now you start to get clearer on what that next hire, who that needs to be. So sometimes we need some trial and error to be able to go through that. I've had a lot of clients so far this year that have had to do that, to get their head around understanding, okay, that's not what I thought it was. I don't want that, but this is what I do want. And so getting even more clear on the hiring process, which by the way, I believe is the number one process you must have implemented into your business if you are a growth-centric growth organization. You have to have a great hiring process in place. So let's talk FAC, functional accountability chart. So this is the FAC that we have seen for the real estate space. We adopted it from Vern Harnish's Scaling Up resource, to where he breaks down the functional accountability chart. We adapted this into the real estate space through our experience in our businesses, as well as coaching thousands of agents across the country for the last, feels like, decades. So in the green boxes, those are your key leadership functions. Okay. And I want you to think of it as a function, because what tends to happen is that, I got Sally in sales, head of sales. Well, you're thinking about Sally. You're thinking about the emotional connection. You need to think about the function and what is the function responsible for. And we'll get into it here in just a second, talking about agreements versus expectations, because when you think about the function, you can nail the agreement. And then guess what you get to do with Sally? You get to lead Sally, and you get to manage the agreement. So the green is our key leadership functions: head of company, sales, marketing, operations, finance, and accounting. The exercise that we have to perform, and I like doing this every quarter during strategic planning, because we're trying to push. And here's the thing that I've noticed over the years: when we don't do this exercise every quarter, that we have stagnant growth for that quarter. And do it two quarters in a row, stagnant growth for 2 quarters in a row, 3 quarters in a row. So you've always got to be looking at this and always continuing to improve it. Do you know what your number one KPI as head of company, your number one key indicator, number one responsibility is to fill the boxes, is to get the key hires in the key seats as fast as you can. That's your job. If you are committed to growth, that is your job, is to fill those boxes. So here's the exercise. Number 1, name the number one person accountable for each role or position. Here's the question you ask. If we don't hit our listings taken and buyers under agreement to listings closed, buyers closed goals, who is ultimately responsible? Marketing. If marketing is not generating the opportunities sales needs to hit its goals, who is ultimately responsible? If you're not making the key hires that you have head of company, right? That's the easy one. Sales, marketing, operations. If we're not hitting our objectives, who is ultimately responsible? If we're not seeing the visibility in the forecasting and the daily revenue, the cash projections, who is ultimately responsible? Number 2, ask yourself these 4 questions: whose name you listed for each function. 1, more than one person in the box. So when you go through that exercise, how many people do you have multiple names in the box? 1 name in the box. You cannot have more than 1 name in the box. What happens is that when you have is that I thought you were going to do that. No, I thought you were going to do that. Fingers start to get pointed. And as you start to grow, you start to create a divide within the organization, because people tend to go to the path of least resistance. So if you've got 2 head of companies, guess who they're going to go to? Whoever's going to give them the answer they want to hear. And that's not good for the organization. And it creates a lot of uncertainty. So more than one person in the box. 2, multiple people in boxes. Okay. And early on it will be. And if you're riding solo, then you're in every damn box. It's just fact. So you're just creating that awareness. 3, how many empty seats do you have? How many boxes that are empty? How many boxes are empty? And here's the 4th and really important question. if you have somebody's name in the box, would you enthusiastically rehire them? And if it's not a hell yes, then it's a hell no. It's that black or white. It's not, then that's a no. It has to be hell yeah, enthusiastically. 100 times out of 100, I would rehire this person again and again and again. So functional accountability chart, really get your hands on this tool, add it to your toolbox, make it a part of your regular strategic process. So for us, when we do quarterly strategy, it's one of the last things before we wrap up and nail the calendar is we go through this. We nail our priorities for the quarter, functional accountability chart time. Go through that exercise just like I laid it out for you guys. And when you get this, there's the 4 questions there on the right-hand side, how to go through it for sure. Okay, so we have our functional accountability chart. We've got this, we know our who's, we know, hey, we've got our people, we need to nail this. If you guys take anything away from this session today, I want you to take away this concept: agreements versus expectations. It's not what you preach, it's what you tolerate. And expectations, guys and ladies, lead to poor time management. Once an agreement is made, people don't have to be managed anymore. I don't know about you. I will not manage anybody. I will lead you all day, every day. But what gets managed is the agreement. Here's the thing. If you live your life on expectations, you will be let down 100%, not 99, 100% of the time. The reason is that people want to do good, but everybody's definition of success is different. My definition of success in any equity of my life, in my fitness, is different than yours. My definition of success in business is different than yours. My definition in my finance is different than your definition of success in finance. Now, if we come to an agreement on what is success, then now we're on the same page. Because if you leave it up to that expectation, we're not going to be on the same page. I love telling this because I don't have an agreement with my kiddos on this, and it's my fault 100%. But I get frustrated when the trash is overflowing, and it's like, dude, like the trash is overflowing. Can you not take the trash out? And I laugh at myself because it's like, yep, I have an expectation that they would take the trash out because it's overflowing. And to me, that's common sense. And to them, it's like, hey, how high can I stack it? And so you got to nail the agreement, and it works in all of our relationships. And, you just have to have that clear agreement. Don't leave it up to chance. Talk about it, get it in writing, handshake on it, write it in blood, whatever you've got to do. But understand, nail the agreement of success for everything. If not, it's just an expectation, and just know 100-0 on you that you're going to be let down 100% of the time. So don't set yourself up for disappointment. Nail that agreement. No expectations, no disappointment. So it's effective, and it makes it easy. It makes it a lot easier. Now, tough conversations have to be had, a culture of accountability to the agreement, but it's much easier for sure. Okay. So now we've got our agreements. You got to nail the compensation. Okay. We've got our who's, we know our functions, we know what the agreement of that function is, success of that function. How am I going to compensate them? What you have to understand is that compensation drives behavior. As much as we want to instill intrinsic drives, as much as we want to create a culture that's fun, feels like play, as much as we want to create a culture that put people in functions that they love, doing things they love, compensation is still going to drive the behavior. And what behavior do you want? Okay. And so how are you going to do that? And understand, guys, You cannot turn the wrong people into the right people with money. If they are not a culture fit, they are not a culture fit. And it doesn't matter how much money you give them, you are not going to turn them into a culture fit. And the second you know that they're not a culture fit, you have to free up their future. You have to let them go immediately. Okay? Because one wrong culture is number one, right? It's culture. Culture is just a collection of your people. That's why we start with vision, because how do you know the right people? Because it starts with our core values, core value fit. If you have people that are not core value fits, they need to go somewhere where they can be a core value fit. It's not your organization. It needs to be somebody else's. So you've got to nail that. And you have to understand that you can't throw money at bad people. If someone needs financial incentives to perform at a high level, or they lack the intense inner drive required to do great things, people do respond to incentives. To ignore the influence of incentives is to ignore human nature. Okay. We want to establish, like I said, intrinsic, great culture, but we also need to compensate in a way to where they feel valued. My favorite is a great culture and a good market-based wage for what they do is really, really key. So the wrong incentives can be dangerous, encourage people to do the wrong things. There's so many cases, and that's Warren Buffett's filter. A company makes wrong decisions. He goes, I want to know what the compensation structure was. What was the incentive? Because that's what's going to drive that. Give you an example. If you compensate an ISA for appointment set, just appointment set, guess what you're going to be getting? Bogus BS appointments. Now, if you move the metric a little bit more and you say, I'll compensate you for kept qualified appointments that we have created agreement of what that means, then guess what you're going to get? You're going to get kept qualified appointments. So you got to be really careful in how you want to incentivize and how you want to compensate your people within your organization. On the compensation drives behavior. I want you guys to all get this, because this is brilliant. This is why EXP is the best model out there. You guys have, if you guys were on Clubhouse early in the Cardone and Glenn courting phase, Cardone just kept hammering Glenn. Glenn, he just said, "What is it? What is it, Glenn? What makes EXP?" And he goes, "Man, it's the model." He goes, "It's just the model." And this is where Glenn is brilliant, in that he nailed the compensation to drive the behavior, because us as agents that have sponsored other agents in this organization, we have a financial incentive to make sure those agents succeed, they're productive, and they are selling houses. Compensation drives behavior. How are you structuring your model for that to show up? All right, cool. So I'm going to flip out of this presentation so I can see you guys. If you guys have any questions, any thoughts, any comments, I would love to dive in. And you guys are awesome. I can only see Facebook user. So those are there. I tell you, if you want to grab a copy, I know we've shared the functional accountability chart a few times. I might even have done an expert mentors on it. But if you're looking for it, you don't have a copy of that, message me, and we'll definitely make sure you get that. You get that as well. So one thing I think, cool. So this is the best way to connect with me outside of the Honey Badger Nation. Anywhere at John Kitchens Coach. So you can, tap in, message me, reach out wherever, whatever your preferred method of communication is. reach up and hook that up. Cool. Well, I appreciate you guys. Hope you found some value in the people session. Like I said, it is a piece of the Excel series that we're doing right now with EXP. And it was last week's session on people. Today we talked about numbers. Next week will be leadership. If you guys want to jump in and continue with that training, it's 9:00 in EXP University on Wednesday mornings, and would love to see you guys there. Awesome. Appreciate y'all, and can't wait to see you guys on the next episode of Expert Mentors Live.